Hey there, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of NetCLIX and Chill. My name is Jimmy Prescott.
And I'm Daniel Smith.
And today we are actually doing a pretty quick video as far as succession. We just did a video like 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah,
right?
But we've got a busy weekend coming up, just a lot of stuff going on, so figured now or another week and a half. So
yeah.
We'd rather do more than instead of less.
There's also a lot of happening right now in the world of Heroclix because the new Thor set is releasing a lot of figures right now. So we're kind of just trying to talk about them as they come out. Figured that there were some pretty cool ones that just came out that we wanted to talk about since our last video. So
yeah, I'm super excited for the set, and they showed just pieces I really like, so that's what we're going to talk about first.
Yeah.
So do you want me to talk about Carnage, or do you want to talk about the Executioner?
Go ahead with Carnage.
Alright, so we are getting a colossal Carnage, and that is amazing. Like, I'm pretty excited. I really like the Spider-Man symbiotes. I don't read a lot of Spider-Man comics because I just don't read a lot of comics. But the symbiotes have always been really cool. I really like Venom, all of that. The old Web of Spider-Man set was pretty cool. So when I saw this Carnage, I got really excited. So this is what he looks like. Let's see if I can... That is his sculpt, and it is glorious.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So he's got a pretty long dial. He's 300 points at his highest value. He has 20 clicks. He doesn't have any damage reducers, but he's got like shape change, super senses, close combat or combat reflexes at one point, just interesting stuff like that. He's actually kind of weird for 300. He starts with running shot, but he has a 4 range and 3 bolts, and he actually starts with colossal retaliation on every single one of his lines, which is unusual but really cool because his colossal retaliation is the same whenever someone else gets hit or someone attacks him. You place him, he can make an attack as a free action, but instead of like dealing damage or dealing penetrating damage or doing something different, he makes symbiote spawn. He can attack, and if he hits, he deals normal damage, but even if he doesn't hit, you place a symbiote adjacent. And the symbiotes are pretty darn good. They have plasticity. They have Blades, Claws, Fangs with an 11 attack. They have super senses and shape change. And he can eat them to heal 2 clicks.
So you're just dropping one of those like 120 point Venom like on his first click.
Yeah.
Or the Venom from the Sinister Foes of Spider-Man or whatever.
Superior Foes.
Yeah, either way.
Yeah, he's a DC fan if you can't tell.
Drops one of those guys, and those guys are stupid to deal with. I freaking hate the shape change and super sense rolls. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So another thing is whenever you are building your force, you may pay 10 points, add a symbiote to your force up to 5 times. So you can add 50 points, you get 5 symbiotes to start. Plus, you spawn them with colossal retaliation. And when you add those 5, they don't cost 10 points. You add 10 points to Carnage's cost. So he can eat them, you can let him die, whatever, and you don't give any points to your opponent. But if they take him out, they get the 350 points. But what's good about that is your opponent doesn't get any points for the ones you make with colossal retaliation. So it's actually it works pretty well. And being able to heal 2 clicks on a whim with 5 symbiotes running around is it's pretty worth it. He can heal 10 clicks throughout the course of the game, just with the 50 points you pay. So it effectively gives him a 30-click dial, not counting the ones he spawns.
Well, that's if you don't kill them, though.
Right.
Kill the little ones
Yeah,
first.
but you can attack the little ones that have shape change and super senses.
It's going to be annoying.
please do. You're not getting anything for it except stopping me from healing, and if you're not attacking me, I don't need to heal.
Yeah.
I'm the more I talk about this piece, just the more excited I get for him. Plus, he looks amazing, and it's freaking Carnage. Yeah. So I'm not going to go over all the details on his dial. You can look it up on the Realms. Jimmy will probably post the dial on the YouTube video.
Right here.
Yep. Right.
Where my face should be.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right there. Okay. So, yeah, let's see if he's got what... Yeah, I talked about the force construction. He can KO 1 adjacent symbiote to heal 2 clicks. He does have a stop click on his last click, like a lot of the colossals do these days, which just gives him toughness, and that's it. But it can't be countered or ignored because it's a stop click. So like multi-target pulse wave won't finish him off. And his colossal retaliation also only costs 10 points. So one thing you can do for like modern 300 is pay 10 points for him, then pay 50 points for 5 symbiotes. So you get those 5, and you have a colossal retaliator sitting on the back line. You send the 5 up. If they die, they don't give up any points, but if he does, you give up 60. So it's kind of a trade. But when you do use his colossal retaliation, then he's in the middle and he's making more symbiotes, and they have to deal with him. So he's actually a really good colossal retaliation piece at 10 points.
What are his values like on that last click?
Yeah, on that last click, he has an 11 attack, a 16 defense, 3 damage, sidestep, and then the colossal retaliation power and the stop click with toughness.
Yeah.
And because he makes the symbiotes, he'll never be single target pulse waved, so they'll have to actually just attack him normally, which means they're not dealing with other pieces.
Is there any issue when he creates a symbiote? Like they don't come out with an action token, they can take actions that turn?
They get to take actions and everything.
Yeah, so that's
So
great.
he drops in. If he hits, he deals 3 damage. Then he drops a symbiote adjacent, and he's colossal, so he doesn't have to be adjacent. So you have to deal with that symbiote before you deal with him. Again, shape change super senses. So
and plasticity. So.
And if you attack and miss, or if you damage the symbiote, that's a friendly character. He gets to retaliate again on the next turn.
Very true.
So I'm definitely going to be trying to get him, and once I get him, I will be playing him. And I actually have old Web of Spider-Man symbiotes. I'm going to use the blue ones that have like the hands up.
As the
I'm going to use those as my tokens.
That's a good idea.
I'm super excited. Like I'm nerding out about this dude.
That would be pretty cool. What are his keywords?
Obviously, he's going to have monster, and he should have the Carnage. What is it? Yeah, maximum Carnage and monster are his only keywords.
Oh.
But he is a monster. And maximum Carnage, all the old Web of Spider-Man ones were errated to have that. So like your Doppelganger, your old Carnage, all the old symbiotes, the old Toxin, all have maximum Carnage. So you can have a named theme team with this guy.
Yeah.
And I think in Superior Foes, all of the symbiotes also have the keyword.
I think so.
And if not, they're all monster.
That is pretty awesome. I freaking love the monster keyword with Lord Dreg. So that's
and Dreg makes tokens. He makes tokens.
They're a perfect combination.
it's a happy family.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean his dial. He gets exploit here and there, steal energy here and there. Blaze Claw's Fangs towards the end. He actually has at 300 points a lot of clicks with 5 damage. But I think probably my favorite would be 200 points because he's got charge with a 12 attack with the colossal retaliation, super sensitive shape change. That's probably my favorite starting line aside from the 10 points. So yeah, that's how I feel about Carnage. I could ramble more, but then I'd be repeating myself.
True. All right, so the next one that we were wanting to look at is going to be the easiest one to get that we've talked about. Well, other than the starter characters. Those are pretty easy to get. But
you just go buy a starter set and you got all the characters.
As far as rarity, this guy is an uncommon. It's the Executioner. And this is some real nostalgia because the first set that I ever actually tried to collect in its entirety, I failed. I have never actually collected a set in its entirety, but I tried. With Armor Wars way back when. It was the Iron Man themed set. Executioner, this is whenever they had the rookie, experienced, and veteran versions of characters. I had all 3 versions. He was not super great because his movement power was phasing teleport on every version, I believe. But he could hit really hard. So if you could manage to get up next to somebody and survive a turn for his point bracket, he had a pretty lengthy dial. His stats stayed pretty high for the time, and his damage was great.
Was he the sculpt that had the red X like over his head and it's kind of see-through?
No.
Oh.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
That one was also really good. I don't remember his name. But
I don't remember who that was, but he was cool.
So this guy though he's great as a new rendition of that same character. I will definitely be playing him. So this Executioner, he is an uncommon number 29A. So he's got...
that means he's going to have a prime.
He does have a prime that hasn't been released yet, so we don't know who the prime is going to be.
But it'll probably be someone with an axe and a similar sculpt.
Probably. Very similar, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So he is 120 points, and he is a close combat piece like no other. Actually, there are lots other like him, but
by himself, he's kind of underwhelming, except for his trait.
Yeah, but we'll go over that. So just a second. We'll put the wow factor in at the very end here. Sprinkle it on there on top.
Be ready, because it's good.
So this guy has the Masters of Evil team ability. He also has Indomitable, so he's a pushing monster.
Yeah, Masters of Evil is just colossal stamina.
Right, so he'll start taking damage once he pushes the second time, but he's going to be pumping out that damage that whole time.
Real fast, let me throw in two. Masters of Evil is a copyable team ability.
True.
So he's nice to have for your wild cards.
Yeah. And speaking of team abilities and all that, since we're starting with that, he does have the Asgardian, which is a theme in this set because of the Mighty Thor being the theme.
It's literally Thor. Makes perfect sense.
And then he's got the Masters of Evil keyword, of course, because of his team ability. And then he's got the Warrior generic keyword as well. So he starts out with Charge with a 9 speed. He has basic foot movement. And then he has an 11 attack, an 18 defense with Impervious, Indomitable, and a 4 damage. For his first 4 clicks, he keeps Charge, and then his defensive power goes steadily down until it hits he hits 17 defense with Toughness. By his 5th click, he gets Flurry, so he loses his movement, but in the meantime, his attack value has dropped from an 11 to a 10 on his 3rd click, and then a 9 on his 4th click. And then at the end of his dial starts to go back up. So you actually see his dial is it's like a little bowl where he starts with high values, goes down to a 9 attack and a 3 damage in the middle. By the end of his dial on click 7, he goes back up to an 11 attack, a 19 defense with Impervious again, and a 4 attack. Now he has, a 4 damage, now with Flurry. Mm-hmm. So instead of his charge.
Yeah, I would say his last click definitely looks like his best. And it is possible to get there with his Masters of Evil.
Yeah, true. Because you could push your way there instead of just getting your crap kicked in while you're trying to get there. But yeah, so he gets that 19 defense with Impervious. So if he lands there, he's going to be pretty tough to put down in certain situations, especially late in a game where you've really whittled down their attackers. Mm-hmm. But his powers here, he has 2 traits. His first one, well, let's go over his second one, because his first one is what makes him great. Second one is, I stand by Amora no matter what. It's a unique modifier. If he is standing next to a character named Enchantress, both modify their defense by +1. So that's pretty great. At his lowest defense, he has a 17, so it goes up to an 18. Last click, he's going to be on a 20. First click, he's going to be on a 19. That would have wowed me like 2 or 3 years ago. Now 19 defense is kind of like just thrown out like candy on Halloween. So
yeah, it's good. It's nice to have. It's not super impressive.
Yeah, with the average attack having gone up to an 11 and then a 12 not being uncommon anymore.
Well, a 12 attack for less than 100 points is uncommon, except for Green Arrow. But you've got your range combat expert, your close combat expert, Perplex. There's ways to make it easy enough to hit. You'll need a 6 or a 7, which is average on a dice roll, so 50% of the time he should be fine. But when you need to make that hit on a 19 defense, competitively at least, you've got the means to do it.
Yeah.
Unless the dice are just really, really bad.
And it's just common enough now on low point figures that it's not really noteworthy. 19 defense, it used to be a great factor about a figure. Now it's just kind of
Yeah,
you could throw that in there.
That old school Thanos that literally had no powers, but he had the 19 and 20 defenses.
Yeah,
and he was
and a 12 or 13 attack.
And it was you'd need 10s to hit this guy, but if you did, you'd deal damage because he had no reducers. Well, now you have 19 with Impervious.
I think he just had literally the only power he had was just invulnerability across the dial.
Oh, was that what it was?
But that was the only power that he had.
Yeah.
And he was the super old one. Mm-hmm. Okay, so his other trait, though, that makes him absolutely wonderful is Welder of the Blood Axe, and that's a trait that says Executioner starts the game.
I want to cut you off because last podcast, Jimmy made a comment where he had no idea what the Blood Axe was.
And that was in reference to the trait by
Thunderstrike.
Thunderstrike, yeah, he has a trait about destroying the Blood Axe. So
apparently Thunderstrike and Executioner don't get along. We have answered your question, Jimmy.
Now we know.
That was weird.
Okay, so let's go over what the Executioner's axe does. Just a second. It is the Blood Axe It is S001, and...
Oh, and since I cut you off mid-trait, just like Thunderstrike, he starts the game with the Blood Axe equipped.
Yes. So this Blood Axe, it has... Anybody who's attached to it, one, it's a heavy object. Costs 10 points, except for this guy, it's free, and it's equipped automatically. It gives the character Battle Fury, Exploit Weakness, and Steel Energy. So, the great part about this is, especially at the beginning of his dial, he has Charge, and Charge and Exploit work together, so he's going to be throwing that damage through.
And Battle Fury, like, gets around Shape Change.
Yep, and Shape Change is really, it's pretty prevalent now.
It's becoming...
Annoyingly so. I really hate Shape Change.
Because you've got the symbiote characters all have it. Nick Fury, the Nick Fury has it.
The Nick Fury.
That Superman that I lost to, that I was telling you all about last week, apparently he's got it.
This guy doesn't care if you have glasses on. It's like, I don't freaking care if you're change. Kent, I'm just going to punch you in the face with my Blood Axe.
So I've more and more becoming like obsessed with characters with Battle Fury because I really hate Shape Change.
I really like that and I don't know if Battle Fury has always been this way or I just overlooked how useful it could be. I remember it being annoying because it was like, I can't use my range if I have it. I can't be carried by other characters, which I really like to do because I plan my characters around their movement abilities and all that. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it's just like, I want people with Battle Fury. Like, if there's something that will give me Battle Fury, give it to me, because there's so much shape change and stuff around. If you can get like Battle Fury, Precision Strike, you can really take out those low point characters that are incredibly hard to deal with because of evasion. And I think that this is a great asset to have on a character, especially because he doesn't have range, so there's literally no downside other than not being able to be carried.
Yeah, and can you TK someone with Battle Fury? Or
yes.
No? Okay.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, then, yeah, there's really no
so you
downside.
just throw him around anyway. And then, because of the way he works with Enchantress, I'm sure, I haven't done research on her, but I'm sure that there are versions of her with telekinesis.
Yeah, either that or she'll have a special power that lets her carry him anyway. Or there's going to be some good interaction, because if he's got a trait that affects her, she's going to have a trait that affects him.
Right. So it gives him Exploit Weakness to do that damage. It gives him that Battle Fury, which we just talked the crap out of. And then it gives you Steel Energy. So the great part about that is, of course, it's Steel Energy on every single click. At the end of his dial, he gets Flurry, and you have Steel Energy. You're never working your way out. There are so many characters like Venom from Civil War. By the time he gets Steel Energy and he has Flurry, if you hit one of them, it takes you off of Flurry, so you don't get the second attack.
Actually, I found out you do, and I just found this out recently, because Flurry and Steel Energy, or Flurry is a power action that lets you make...
And it says end of actions?
So you make the 2 attacks, and then when actions resolve, I think Steel Energy happens during the action, so you have to heal, and you heal off of Flurry, but you took the power action to make 2 attacks. The source of the power is gone, but the action hasn't resolved yet. So you do get to make the second attack, but you don't get Steel Energy on the second attack.
I've never heard that. I've played so many times without that being the case, and I like that a lot.
Yeah,
that's good.
Before I knew that, it messed me up pretty bad, but I was playing in a tournament with Goblin King, who picked Flurry Steel Energy, and that started the discussion, because Venoms get that combination a lot, and I kind of didn't understand it, and so when we had that discussion, I realized how it works, and it's actually really great.
Yeah. So Steel Energy, and it also complements his team ability really well, because with Masters of Evil, you're going to be pushing, you're going to be losing those clicks to that pushing damage, but with Steel Energy, if you are still running with those 2 clicks on him, he is still able to stay on that click. With those 2 action tokens on him.
Yeah.
He's still able to stay on that click as long as he keeps hitting. If you're at the end of his dial and he's on Flurry, he has the chance to even keep healing up a click at the end of actions, because you push 1, heal 2. So
it's ridiculous. You can literally attack every turn of the game and never lose a click.
Yeah.
Ever.
But this guy is 120 points. There are definitely many means to one-hit kill him, especially in this age of HeroClix where it's all about the Alpha Strike. So he could definitely be killed. I think it would be difficult to say that he could be on a competitive level as far as being a close combat carry, because his movement is limited. Somebody can just nuke him to the point where he's not very useful, and then kind of move around him. If you are at the end of his life and you're like, hey, I'm finally on this click with a 19 defense, I could probably survive for a bit. because they can't hit me or I can roll off with Impervious, you're actually going to be healing yourself off of that click back into the middle of that bowl, which is going to make him weak again.
And you can't not heal with Steel Energy.
Right. So you're going to end up working your way back into that 18 or 17 defense and back into invulnerability or and toughness.
With Flurry on that last click, if you do Flurry and you hit both and you're not pushing, you will land on toughness.
Right.
And then they need to deal, 3 damage and you're KO'd.
So, like, it would be real tricky to get this guy to work in your favor a majority of the time, especially if your opponent knows the guy's dial. But he's still really cool, and of course, my answer to anything is throw Brainiac on him. So
actually, if you put Brainiac on him, you lose the Blood Axe because you can only have 1 equipment.
So never mind. Don't throw Brainiac on him.
And actually, I would have gone with Eclipso because Precision Strike with Battle Fury and Exploit Weakness.
True. I just really like Brainiac.
Because they're both equipments,
it doesn't
it's
work.
One or the other. So, like,
well, you could put Supreme Intelligence
you
on
could.
Is there any reason to? I haven't really looked into Supreme Intelligence, but I just know he's good.
Top click, you get Telekinesis. Second click, you get Willpower. And Stealth and Willpower on second click. I mean, if you you could spin it randomly.
Yeah, it wouldn't be really useful in the beginning, at least. So you'd have to have some luck on your side.
And then, there's really, unfortunately, no other outside elements to take him to that next level. But he's still, he'll be highly competitive in casual. And then if you do take him, some teams might not be ready for him. I think you'll do well with him in competitive. I don't think he could win a major event, but I do think that he could catch people off guard and you do well with it.
I think he's a really cool piece. I think he's too many points to be... I don't think that he's worth what he does in that bracket, just because he's not mobile enough. His values are there, his powers are there, aside from lack of mobility.
But let's talk about him compared to the Loki from this set. The Loki's 100 points, has 12 clicks with Mystics, the same ability to use Masters of Evil for half of his dial, and he does not have an equipment to do his shenanigans, so he does have the freedom to get Brainiac or Eclipso, or you could put the Blood Axe on him and get Battle Fury Steel Energy, even though you can't heal the first half. You have a lot more flexibility with that Loki than you do with this Executioner.
Yeah.
But putting that aside, this is still a very fun dial. It looks good.
I'll definitely be using him, and since he's uncommon, I'll be happy to be able to pick one up and play him a few times.
And pulling him in sealed or in battle royales, anything like that, he will be a force that your opponents have to deal with. So I do like him in the set by itself for sealed events. He's going to be great. Outside of the set, as far as the whole meta, he is just too many points for what he does. If he was 90 points, he would be freaking amazing. But up to paying 120 for him, when you look at other characters in a similar point bracket, it's just, he's not quite there.
Well, I think the reason for that too is if you look at him without the Blood Axe, you're like 120 points, that's real steep. Once you put the Blood Axe on it, you're like, okay, he's usable. And fairly usable. He's good.
He's good. He'll get in there and he'll deal damage to some heavy hitters because he gets around the shape change and the anything but invincible and super senses basically.
But he's really not getting that axe for free. The axe is definitely put into that cost.
Yeah. Because
it's evident that without it, he would not be worth that point value. So having an axe that's only 10 points anyway, I wouldn't really say you're not getting a bargain.
Yeah, he's a solid click, but again, like Jimmy said, he's not cheap enough to be amazing.
Yeah, but he's really cool.
Yeah. Now, we mentioned primes earlier because he's going to have a prime. The first prime that's been shown so far is the rare prime 041B, and that is Odin the Destroyer. Now, Odin here is he's pretty cool. You can play him at 230 points or at 175 points. At the 230 points, he has top dial, sidestep, pulse wave, a 19 defense with an impervious that succeeds on a 3 through 6. Yeah. With a 5 damage top dial. He has power cosmic. He's a giant, 4 range. For 230 points, though, I think he's a little cheap, or a little steep, not cheap. He's a little steep for what he does. Kind of. I'll have to play him before at 230. I'll have to play him before I can give you whether or not he's worth it, because he has a wonderful, wonderful ability. It is called incalculable. How do you say that? Incalculable
might.
Yeah, I can't talk. Anyways, it is power. If Odin the Destroyer has one action token, give him any 2 actions at no cost.
And that is a trait.
And that's a trait, like Jimmy said.
That's pretty great.
I prefer him at his 175 point dial, and I'll get into that in a little bit.
Well, hold on. Let's just point out why.
Okay.
What is the purpose of those first 3 clicks? He's very, he looks like he's real tough because of that defense, but it's like I've got a 4 range with freaking pulse wave,
and sidestep, so it's okay.
Well,
but
I mean,
the first 3 clicks, what it is if you can get there. All right, so
it looks very passive.
This is how it would play out in the dream situation. You can move up your full speed. Well, let's say I'll telekinesis him up 8 spaces. Then I'll move his 8 spaces, and then I'll sidestep. So I've covered 18 total squares. And I have an action token now. Actually, it's a power action, so I can't do it in the same turn that I move. So
because
never mind.
Wait, what's a power action?
It's a power action to activate his incalculable might.
Crap.
So you can't move and do it in the same turn.
Yeah, we were thinking you could get effectively 3 actions per turn.
Yeah, so it's not quite that good. But what he can do in the ideal situation on the 230 point top click is if he can get a single target pulse wave, and he's got the 1 action token, you can single target pulse wave for 5, and I don't know if the new rules are still going to have the damage depletion modifier. Whether or not it does, you can pulse wave again single target for an additional 4 or 5. This is without any perplexes. So if you hit the same character twice, you've dealt 9 damage ignoring everything.
Yeah.
You add 1 perplex in there, suddenly you've dealt 11 damage. You've KO'd any standard character in the game.
Very true.
But getting into that,
they have to be at arm's reach without him having taken any damage.
So that's really hard to do, but that's, I think, what those top clicks are designed for. But it is really hard to get into that position. However, he has power cosmic, and his impervious succeeds on a 3 through 6 that you can prob.
True.
So unless they have psychic blast, pulse wave, or exploit weakness, he's never taking damage. But if they have that, you're going to just kind of get hit hard. And that's why I prefer him at his 175 point dial, because he has charge, he has precision strike, invincible, and a 4 damage with special power, Skyfather's Face the Celestials. Colossal, when Odin the Destroyer attacks characters that have the colossal symbol or are 200 points or more, modify attack and damage by +2. So if you're fighting someone bigger than he is, he just poops on him. He goes to a 12 attack, a 6 damage precision strike, and if he has an action token, you give him that power action, and you can take any 2. So you can charge, hit him for 6 damage, and then attack again for 5 or 6. Now, he does lack exploit weakness or psychic blast, so I would probably put Eclipso on him, because on click 4, Eclipso has a running shot, psychic blast, and outwit and invulnerability, which you don't need because you have invincible. And the new invincible coming out with this is damage -2 and then a max of 3 damage taken, which is pretty good. I think right now the only time it's worse than current invincible is against 5 damage, because you take 3 instead of 2.
Yeah.
But it's better against 2 damage because you take no damage.
Yeah.
But Eclipso on click 4 gives him +1 attack, so he's up to an 11 attack now. If you do target a colossal or someone 200 points or more, you go up to a 13 attack. You get outwit if you want to charge, or you can take psychic blast, or you can take running shot and running shot twice to get into better positioning. So it gives you a lot of options. I did miss that the incalculable might is a power action, so that makes him a little less great than what I was thinking, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah. And one thing about Invincible, which you were just talking about.
Yes.
The new version, does it still say it ignores damage?
Right, yeah. It ignores 2 damage.
So it still will be immune to psychic blasts.
That's why it's better than invulnerability, because otherwise it's literally invulnerability until you get hit for 6.
Yeah.
So it gets around exploit weakness and psychic blast.
Yeah.
And any other penetrating. So that is Odin the Destroyer.
Yeah.
Made myself a little sad realizing it was a power action.
Yeah. I feel like we really ended up... So we started here with probably Executioner, then Carnage, and then Odin as far as like cool factor.
Yeah.
I feel like Executioner still stayed at the bottom. Still really cool. I keep feeling like we're pooping on him whenever he was pretty actually... He's neat.
Mm-hmm.
But then... Carnage definitely lifted to the top of that list as we talked about him because...
Absolutely, because we found out how good Carnage is.
Yeah, it's like we're talking about it just now. It's just like, my God, he's good. Like,
but I do have to still say for Odin, if you compare him to Krang, Krang, in order to attack twice in the same turn, needed either Batmite or Justin Safrit.
Yeah.
Odin does it by himself. It just takes a little more setup to do.
Yeah.
Turn 1, you move him into position. Turn 2... is when you kind of have to go off, but they can counter position. So he's not quite as good as Krang, but the overall investment to get him rolling is less. And he's not... Where Krang, if you take out his support pieces, then he's not going to be as good. Odin, you have to take out Odin.
Does Odin have... hold on, I'm trying to think.
And Odin's got Power Cosmic, so his... immunity outwit is better than Krang's was.
Well, does Odin have exploit weakness?
No.
What if you had somebody with telekinesis, your first turn, you telekinesis him out to special object Blood Axe?
Ooh.
10. You use the action token to equip it, and then now he's got his action that he needs for the second turn without having to actually put him into danger. Now he's got Steel Energy, he's got the exploit weakness, and he's got Battle Fury.
Yeah, and Precision Strike.
And Precision Strike. It makes him... He can literally get through any defensive power other than invincibility.
Yeah.
He's got the second action token. You telekinesis him out again on the second turn. Now he's in position to take the 2 actions, and you can use one of those if you need to get into position with a movement action and then charge. Or you can just charge twice and completely destroy someone. So,
The Blood Axe took that Odin from being kind of... Like, I made myself sad, and then... As you said, TK him up. I was like, onto the Blood Axe. That's what Jimmy's going to say.
That thing is a monster now.
Suddenly, I am very okay, because that eliminates the need for...
Well, no, he's a giant. You can't teleport, or you can't...
actually, crap, and he's a giant, so he's not a standard character, so he can't be...
He can't be equipped because he's a giant? We keep talking ourselves in circles here. God,
well, we almost had a cool idea.
They must have known it was coming.
Maybe, like, if we can shrink him...
There are ways. Misaplick.
You just have to Misaplick every turn.
Except
but
you
every
can't
time
even
you
do that until
every time you do it, he would go back to giant, and then you have to shrink him again.
Oh, keep giving him
so
the action
he would keep dropping the... Well, no, it stays equipped. You just can't use it. So you could shrink him, pick it up. He goes big. He can't use it, and then
can you really? You can't put equipment on a giant?
Yeah, because it's not a standard character.
I know. Once I put the Bat Cowl on Super Doom. I thought it was the funniest thing ever because it's like he's got this tiny little cowl and he's hiding in a bush and it's like hanging from his eyebrows.
That means we can't put Eclipso on Odin either. Yeah,
No.
Odin just like he's cursed by being almost really good.
He's too big for his own good, literally.
Dang it!
If he wasn't a giant, he'd be what we were looking for.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I mean, Giant Reach with charge is still pretty good.
Yeah, he's he's unsupportable.
He will kill all of the small annoying characters because he's got Precision Strike, but like and he'll always deal at least 1 when you roll Impervious against him, but and Precision Strike's get a nerf in the new rules. It's just -1 to the evade roll now.
That really sucks.
Yeah.
I loved Precision Strike.
I know.
Man, I didn't know that was happening. I'm not in HeroClix news. which is weird because
I'm the one that stays super current. You just keep me talking.
I kind of like float mellowly in the background and throw out a casual list every once in a while.
Yeah.
All right. So based on these and the other characters we've talked about, and the characters that have come out that we haven't talked about, what would you say about the Mighty Thor set so far?
Well, if I compare what I've seen so far to all of the sets in Modern now...
Oh, wait. While we're talking about the set, before we move on anyway, you did see in the last podcast the overwhelming evidence for August, right? It's releasing in August.
I have to admit that,
anyone who knows.
As much as I'm going to make fun of Jimmy because of the Blood Axe thing, he was right and showed it. So, congratulations, Jimmy.
Thanks.
Congratulations, that's all.
Would
you like a cookie?
Yeah.
I'll get you a cookie.
I think there's
Alright,
some here somewhere.
But if I am going to compare this Thor set to all of the sets in Modern, as far as pieces I think could have an impact on the meta, which they're getting close. I haven't seen one yet that I'm completely sold on, but I do see pieces that will be used in some competitive
We
teams.
haven't seen anybody yet who just gets to choose their own powers. That's basically what is going to come into the ring next.
We're going to get one this set. There's
one.
too many mystical characters.
They need to stop. All of a sudden they're like, oh, this is winning tournaments consistently. Let's keep coming out with them.
What I think they've realized is Goblin King and Jakeem obviously are broken because Goblin King not anymore because they
nerfed him so hard.
But the reason that they have such a wow factor is they can pick almost any two powers. Jakeem has a little bit of limit, but they also have high natural stats and everything. But they've also given us a lot more pick a power pieces. Say that 5 times fast. Cool. They've given us a lot more pick a power pieces than I think people realize, because in
you have the Iron Man and stuff
Avengers Defenders War we got Claw. No one complains about him. Krang is a pick a power piece that not a lot of people realize that he is because he did so much other stuff well. The Iron Man, people were talking great about him and he's so good, and then they realized he's kind of not. He's just okay.
He's very limited. Because you have to you can't use the powers you have on his dial if you choose new powers. Yeah. So he kind of nerfs himself every time you try to do something creative.
And Nico Minoru is good but not game breaking. So when you realize all these pieces that can pick their own powers and how they're not Jakeem or Goblin King, I think WizKids sees how you can get the strategy without just breaking the game, and I think they're trying to find the tent pole that can do that isn't just garbage and weak like Iron Man, but isn't Jakeem Thunder or unnerfed Goblin King. They're trying to find that middle area, and I think that they might, or I'll just get another overpowered piece that I'll abuse till it gets nerfed. I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
But I could definitely see Thor getting similar to the Iron Man from What If, where he can pick between 4 or 5 different powers. I can see stuff like that happening too. How did we get on this tangent? Oh,
I don't know.
I was gonna talk about this set. My excitement for the set. I like it way better than Elseworlds and What If. I like the theme better than Avengers Defenders War, and so far I like the dials better. Superior Foes was a really cool set. It had a lot of cool pieces I like. So I would say this is probably on that level, maybe a little bit higher. The Colossal Carnage is just amazing. I'm super excited about that. But overall, I can't think of a set in Modern right now that I like better than what I've seen so far from this set. And if they keep going on this path, this will definitely be my favorite set in Modern. And I'm at least getting a brick. I kind of want to get a case. We might need to split a case, Jimmy.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if we do buy a brick, we're opening it on, this podcast.
Yeah.
We had been discussing that before, but it hasn't happened yet. So.
Well, because it's really painful for me to have boosters not open.
Yeah, just wait.
Sorry,
Internet.
I work right next to the Coliseum.
Yeah.
So, on my lunch break, I can go there, and then I'd have unopened boosters sitting for 4 hours. That is painful. But
just cooking in the car.
I'll do that.
My favorite sets are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sets. I actually stopped playing this game for years. Both of us did. And I got back in because I heard that Ninja Turtles was coming out. Mm-hmm. When they came out, I went and I bought 2 of the Gravity Feed packets. And I was like, I really want Slash because I really like the new series, the 2012 animated series. And Slash is a really cool character. Giant blue tortoise, for anybody who doesn't know. And he's a rare, and I opened these 2. I got a Foot Ninja in the first one, and then the second one, I got freaking Slash. And I was like, this game is calling me once again.
And didn't you buy like 2 more packs?
Well,
was
later,
that the same day, or was that later?
Nah, it was much later. I that kind of kicked me off, and then I started buying just Turtle stuff, and I was like, I'm going to get back into this game, and I'm going to buy exclusively Turtles. I'm going to go to tournaments, and I'm going to exclusively play Turtles. That did not last long, but I still have a love for the Turtles. I'm waiting for the 4th set. So my favorite stuff in Modern is, of course, all the Turtles.
You're forgetting the coolest part when you bought 2 packs.
When Shredder's Return came out, I bought 4 packs of Gravity Feed with a gift card. You know, like our local Coliseum does that. If you buy $100 worth of stuff, you get a $10 card. I just had the $10 card, so I was like, I'll just go in here and buy something with it. So bought those 4 with a $10 card, and from those, I pulled another Foot Ninja, a Bebop, and then I pulled the rare Shredder clone. And I was like, oh, this guy's really cool. He has Ocean Resurrection, but that's, I'm never going to get the Shredder Shark. He's super expensive and super hard to get. Next booster I open is the Shredder Shark.
Yeah.
And it's like $120 piece from a free little $10 card, and I pulled the 2 that work together. So
and a really cool thing about that too is a little bit after that is when I got back into the game, and I was collecting a couple pieces, and I was actually, I can't remember if I was borrowing the Shredders or what down in the other Coliseum down in Kissimmee, but after that event I was like, they had like 6 or 7 packs of Shredder's Return left. I was like, it's not that much. I had a card too, so I bought all 7. And I was like, I'd really like to get mini Shredders so I can play these 3 Shredders together. And he's just a really cool one, and I like his chibi head. He was just neat. So the first pack I opened had a mini Shredder. And I was like, that's it. We're in. I'm going.
Just throw these rest in the garbage while I walk out of the store.
So in 11 packs total, Jimmy and I combined pulled Shredder Clone, Shark Shredder, and Mini Shredder.
Yeah.
And just, I couldn't believe it.
But coming back to this set, because that was a super tangent.
So yeah.
He was talking about that being his favorite set so far in Standard. Mine are the Turtles, just for your information.
Yeah.
As far as my reception of the Mighty Thor so far, I think they are coming out with a lot of cool playable figures, like the stuff that we've talked about so far. It is more interesting than what I've seen in the previous sets, even though I really had a lot of hope for Elseworlds, because I really like the variable timeline dimension stuff. They really didn't do much with the whole variable thing. Mm-hmm. It was just like, here's some Western stuff, and then a bunch of other crap that you really don't care about. More Superman and Justice League characters. I really love DC, but I don't like how they literally just like, Marvel, Avengers, DC, Justice League. All right, let's just keep pumping them out, boys. Like for friggin' HeroClix.
They want to get real crazy. Here's a Spider-Man set.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to more Justice League for DC.
It's like, oh, the Suicide Squad came out. Let's come out with a Harley Quinn set. Like, it's just like right after Joker's Wild. Like, there's going to be a lot of variability there. Like,
so you get Justice League in Gotham City, and then on the Marvel side, we get Spider-Man. We did get the Nick Fury sets. We got a little bit more Shield than we usually have, and then it's just Spider-Man and Avengers.
Yeah,
and
so
that's it.
NECA creative team. If you ever watch our podcast, any member, just get creative. Like, it's part of your title. Creative team. So,
but I will say,
or sub out to people who actually read comic books and know more than the 7 characters you keep publishing.
But I've heard from the Thor set, one of the sub themes. I can't remember the name of the group, but there is like a really obscure team that is getting covered. I cannot remember what they're called, but I will figure that out. And if I don't know, I'll talk about it in the next podcast.
Yeah.
But I have heard that we're getting obscure pieces. We are redoing a Thor set, but it's been 5-6 years since Hammer of Thor. Like, it's been a while, so I'm very okay with them redoing it.
Yeah. Well, like HC Realms even has a whole series of like, this character has never been published before. Like, while we're getting the umpteenth version of this character, this one has literally never had a HeroClix piece in the years of HeroClix. And they come out with these consistently, and you could probably go back to their very first like articles and still not see the characters that they're talking about. So like they don't even care.
Yeah.
But anyway, tangent aside, I think that the figures that are coming out of this set are really neat. I think that they play well. I personally don't like Marvel characters as much, so I don't know much about the lore, which is really why I play the game. I really like playing superheroes that I would like to see represented on a battlefield, putting together teams that I would either like to see in a comic book or have already seen in a comic book. So, I don't know. I don't really have as much interest in Marvel stuff innately, but it's true that for the game, I think that characters like the Executioner and stuff just look like a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, and two, I like that so far the pieces we've seen look really good, but not just broken. I feel like we had a couple drastic bookends since Nick has taken over, and even in Modern right now, where we have really short dials that are really compact with a lot of power, or we'll have really long dials that are kind of watered down. You'll have kind of like the Jakeem where it's 8 clicks and they're just all really good. And they're kind of all over the place. This one I feel like they're finding the right balance of length of dial, stats, and powers. Like the Executioner drops down to a 9 attack, which is really bad in today's game. But they're doing it in such a way where he stays playable and he gets stronger at the end. So I feel like they're kind of figuring out how to make quality pieces instead of just like drastic one side or drastic on the other side. Yeah. I think they are finally trying to find that sweet spot, and they're getting closer.
Yeah, I think they have gotten a lot better. The reason that we ended up dropping out of HeroClix was somebody found white powers and just ran with it.
Yeah, you literally, like, all 4 slots are white, and you're just like, I don't want to read a novel, I want to play a game.
Yeah, you literally had characters that had foldable cards, which you see now in some cases.
But they're not like a trifold pamphlet like Jehovah's Witness hand out.
And a lot of the time you see that now because they add a token or something like that, so you need that space. Back then it was seriously like, let's open this because I have to read Dead Man's like literal novel.
Yeah, like this one, it folds open. Ridiculous. It's the Haha Joker, who I'm going to be talking about in a little bit. Like, he's got the traits on the front, all the white powers in one area, and then you've got the dial on the back, and then the middle you've got sculpt and regular powers. Like that's fine. It's laid out well. It's not. I'm not flipping through 8 different pages, reading a million things. I've got a trait that's easy to remember, a trait that tells me how to use the piece when I'm in character construction, and then you just play the piece. And it's a lot easier to use than some of the old pieces.
Yeah, I think they finally worked their way out of that for the most part.
Yeah,
it was literally, they thought every character needed it, and the game is good if you stick to the powers and abilities card. And
I really do like the starter set too, how the Loki and the Hulk we talked about, they don't have a white power. They each have a trait that makes it feel more like the character, but they don't have any white powers on the dial.
Yeah.
And I'm very okay with that.
I like improved movement when it's sprinkled in. We did when it first came out. You see that all over everyone. I wish that you see more of things like the marksman ability.
Yeah.
You don't really see, like, even on this Green Arrow, you don't even have the marksman ability.
What they did is they made improved targeting really common, but the marksman ability is...
Yeah, they basically phased it out. That's true.
But the issue is... Well, I don't know if it's an issue or a good thing, but you can base these characters with improved targeting, and they lose all of it. Yeah. Where when you were a marksman, you could shoot that base character, you could shoot anyone you want.
Yeah, with ranged,
regardless.
Ranged combat expert to the face.
So I think they kind of went away from that, so you did have an answer for these crazy ranged pieces.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I thought
if you're like a low point one-trick pony, I would rather him have... it, you know what I mean? Because it makes sense for Green Arrow to shoot you in the face with an arrow, even in close combat. Yeah. Even though he's a martial artist, he can do both. You know what I mean?
And if nothing else, like, he's got exploding arrows he could stab you with. Like, it makes sense to have ranged combat expert because of that.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's pretty cool. But, yeah, how did we get into that part? I don't know.
We're just rambling tonight.
We're currently at 53 minutes, so in order to keep it
53 minutes.
In order to keep it more tight to an hour, I think we should move on to the next.
Yeah.
Topic.
Well, we're gonna actually have to skip a lot of what we're gonna talk about because we're still like on the top, and we got all the other topics we wanted.
Well, we got that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We knocked out that
crap,
and that. Man. We might need to do a 2-part. You want to do a 2-part and we'll just release 2 podcasts?
At the same
we'll
time.
have an hour and then the second hour.
Yeah.
And that way, like, it's not just 2 hours of rambling. If you want to, like, stop, you can.
Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is... Okay, so just for some incentive to watch the next episode, I guess. We are currently, I guess, cutting it off at discussion of Hammer of Thor. Sorry. Discussion of...
New Hammer of
Hammer
Thor.
of Thor Part 2. And then we will... next, I guess, talk about strategy for this coming weekend. There's a tournament, and we have the details of that. So we're going to be talking about the teams that he has put together, the team that I would be putting together based on what I would like to do with my team, which hasn't been created yet. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to talk about basic things like meta strategies, map strategies, and stuff like that that we normally utilize at a tournament. So,
yeah. And we'll even touch on some of the meta pieces, off meta pieces, team builds. It's going to be very much a discussion about tournaments, tournament play, what to look for, what teams you might see, and really I want to kind of talk too about the meta is more healthy than people think. So that's something I want to touch on. And once they retire Jakeem, which I think will happen soon, because I do think now that we have the Faust block, what's going to happen is we're going to get these new rules in Thor, and I should be talking about this in the next podcast, but I'll close with this. We're getting the new rules in Thor with a new outwit, and then we're going to have, because it's coming out in August, we'll have the big event in Atlanta in October. Jakeem's going to win that, and they're going to be like, well, we thought he'd be weaker because of the new rules, and then people are going to be like, well, we can outwit your outwit, win anyway. And then when they see that Jakeem wins another world event, I think they're going to retire him with Faust. And then we're going to have an awesome meta.
I don't think that they'll retire him. But let's talk about that in the next episode. All right, well, thank you very much for watching this episode of NetCLIX and Chill. And I hope you tune into the next one, which I'm sure will be right on the sidebar, right there.
Yeah.
Maybe right there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm directionally challenged.
If you made it this long, I appreciate it. And if not, I still hate you. But again, you don't know that.
True. Very true. All right, well, thank you, and have a great day. Bye!